the system, because what I hear now is we're in this system that is so bad, and there's so many things that are wrong with it. We seem to be going around in circles, and if we're going to play the game to try and maximize, our benefit, then we've got to lie, and we're just going around in circles here. I would say let's not get in the system at all. So let's before, and this is something that I am working on for the Coalition for Divorce Reform, something called the Parental Divorce Reduction Act. And this is something that people on both sides of the political aisle have come together to draft. Men and women, people in the domestic violence community, liberals, Democrats, Republicans, lawyers. We've tried to marriage educators, we've tried to get a wide range of people to sit down and say, what can we do here to fix the problem of divorce, the divorce rate?
What would your proposed solution do?
And so our proposed solution, what it would do, it actually would stop people before they get to the courthouse steps. We would have a waiting period in place first, and during that waiting period, there would be something called marriage education, which we would call divorce reduction education, based on a model of marriage education, and there's a track record that it works. There's also studies that have shown that couples really are interested in reconciling if they knew how to do it, if they had the skills to do it. And we would target basically couples with minor children, because we see that the most problems that are occurring here, and what you've just talked about with domestic violence, is when children are in the home. So we're going to target families with minor children in the home. They're going to receive this education before they get to the courthouse. They're going to receive information about the impact of divorce on families, on children, on men, on women. Their eyes are going to be open as to what's going to happen before they get there.
Do you think people do not already know that divorce is terrible?
I think people have no clue. I know, personally speaking, and the people that get in touch with me all the time have absolutely no clue. Just for example, I have a very, very good friend, very good religious father of 3, tight marriage, and he said to me the other day, I love your writing, I think it's terrific, but I don't understand. Don't people have a right to get out of a relationship? People do not know.
So here's what I want to ask you. People do make mistakes. It happens. And sometimes the mistakes that they make involve marrying the wrong person, and sometimes they have a child. And if they stay together for the rest of their lives, they might in fact have lives of misery and despair and unhappiness and heartache, and I can't believe that that's good for children. And my question to you is, do you think if they have a child, we should sentence them to a lifetime of misery, or do you think people should be free to find love?
Well, I think that that goes to part of the whole root of the problem that drives all these other problems and the cultural problems that you're talking about, and that is we need to have a discussion about what marriage is. You talked about the 1950s model, you talked about the 21st century, and somewhere along the way we've gotten very confused about what marriage is, what it's supposed to be, what our role is in marriage as a spouse, and that's the dialogue that we need to start having. What is happiness? Where does happiness derive from? Is happiness supposed to come?
Being in love? Is that part of it?
But we now have that soulmate model. If we don't find our soulmate, which is driven by our media, we're out to look for that soulmate, and if we can't find that soulmate who's going to give us exactly what the movies tell us, that we're not happy.
I want to ask you a question. I think it's a fair question to ask because you've written about this publicly, so I hope this is in bounds. Your husband left you. You were in a 20-year marriage. He left you for another woman, and you fought it for a long time and eventually failed to stop. But my question is this. If he had gone to a class, would you still be married now?
I believe we would still be married. We were in therapy, actually, and our therapist said, I would like for you to commit to 4 months, of just coming in here. And she was a marriage therapist. She was not, we weren't getting marriage education, but I've since learned that she had a lot of skills that were related to marriage education. And she asked us to commit to 4 months because she knew that there was something between us worth saving. And the answer is yes.
He might, if he had the opportunity, he might still be with you.
And I have talked to people whose marriages have been saved, who have been divorced, who have come back and reconciled. It does happen, and we need to know that it happens.
I want to, maybe we'll come back, because I want to ask you about false accusations, but I have this one other question first, because I want to get Maria on this now. Look, my sense is that your advocacy is that you really hate, as I do, the whole concept of no fault. It's just crazy. I mean, you think about it, that you make a commitment and 5 minutes later or 50 years later you can change your mind with no consequence. Is that your real advocacy? Is that you'd rather do away with that?
I would rather do away with that, but politically...
Well, why not say that? Beverly, because if you speak from your heart, you know, there'll be such eloquence there, and you'll move people. I mean, your proposal now seems kind of wishy-washy to me, like it's not going to inspire anyone. Why not say what you mean?
No fault is not going to go anywhere. It is a complete non-starter on the political level today.
I agree.
Complete non-starter. And if we start there, we're not going to make any headway whatsoever. And we do believe that the proposal that we have in mind, based on the studies that we have seen, will start making some changes. And if we start making some changes, people will see that changes are happening.
Okay, let's get Maria on. The one thing you know, the most important thing you know about how the whole system is screwed up.
What I'm finding, and from what I had just heard from yourself, from Mr. Rosen and Ms. Willett, is that I like to say that I'm finding the trends are from all three of you. I'm finding there's a political agenda with family court and divorces. I'm finding that we are empowering children a lot more than we really should be in family court. And I'm also finding that society itself is driving, I think, the values and the trends in family court for any of the actions that take place. I'm finding the agencies outside of just the, I'm talking about the battered women's group, outside of the attorneys. I'm finding the battered women groups are encouraging. They are adding to the embellishment.
Well, let's get to it. What is the political agenda? I'm sorry to interrupt, but what is the political agenda that you're talking about?
I'm finding that it is, let's adhere to the trend that women are still driving family court actions. They are the ones who get the most networking available to them, and I'm finding that they're the ones who are, I guess, being empowered by the court system to, unfortunately, court actions become a circus and family court for
How would you change it, Maria?
To lying.
How would you change it? What would you do? If you were governor now, I made him a judge, I'm making you governor. Governor Rauch, we come to you, what are you going to do to change it?
I would actually probably shut down the social networking medias. I think people need to talk more, and I think that's part of, I think, your resolution too, is to have the couples talk first, start really talking, and then if there's just no resolution, then maybe go follow through with a divorce with some grounds. But I also agree with you that there should, this no fault grounds, it means nothing. You know,
marriage becomes nothing at that point.
That's right. And I think marriage really should, society should uphold the values of marriage more so. I think the pendulum needs to swing the other way. I think there's just too much of a free-for-all and too much, as you said before, wishy-washiness.
You know, here, I want to tell you a story, all three of you, that makes the point about why I think so many people are confused. I'd like all three of you to respond. We tape in New York. New York became the last state to officially adopt no fault. Okay, a client of mine showed me paperwork that his then wife submitted to the court in defense of her motion to get him out of the house. And she said he was a violent, dangerous man, and she cited a specific incident during the marriage. She said they were having an argument. He got angry, and while he was angry, he took his fist. Okay, ready for this? He took his fist and he punched the wall. It hurts just to do that. Punched the wall. Now, you know, I want people to love everyone unconditionally. I want there to be peace and love in the land forevermore, but sometimes people get angry. Sometimes they hit the wall. You know what? We're calling it no fault, but we've taken this art of finding fault to some extreme where every tiniest offense or grievance that might have happened in a marriage becomes the basis to throw someone out of their home. You know, how do you do that? How do we call the system no fault, but in some respects the system is driven, it's all about fault?
That's right. And
how does that happen?
Because society is driving that. They are, the social networks and the media, the newspapers are fodders for aggression, fodders for let's text or just go behind the scenes and not personally talk with each other. They are too busy. Kids are just actually society in general are just too busy talking and making accusations.
Do you not, Beverly, do you not think that your proposal, which I find interesting, though, is this gigantic loophole there? You're requiring people to take this class or seminar or whatever, but then you say that you carved out an exception for domestic violence. Now, if I didn't want to take that class, and I see that there's this loophole already there for me, I just walk in and say,